In adapting the novel, you've written a whole new backstory for the
Yes.
screen. What was the inspiration for that?
Actually, a combination of things. It was inspired a lot by my own childhood, growing up in the Blue Mountains, and my parents taking me into the bush. And there's a clue in the book, Force of Nature. She talks about this kind of backstory where Aaron had been up in the bush, and with his parents. And then also a young producer-writer supported by Screen Australia's Next Gen program, Tara Bilston, came to me with the idea of making it about the mother. And she brought a lot of her own experience of her own mother and something that had happened in the bush when she was younger. But it was a kind of genius idea, and her whole take was, well, this is a film about women. So really, if you're looking back into Aaron's past, we should look at what happened to his mother. And that moment helped me kind of galvanise a kind of plot structure that allowed that to carry a lot of emotional weight, much like the first film did. So yeah, it was a journey, and Jane Harper, just incredibly supportive of us adding that story. You know, I spoke to her, Tara and I actually spoke to her and said, look, we'd like to add this story, it's different to what's in the book. And she gave us her blessing, which was wonderful.
And where's that one? There? Delta, yeah.
Okay, you two stargazers, how do you navigate south using the Southern Cross?
First film, you were in drought-affected towns of regional Victoria. We're now in very wet, very cold Dandenong Ranges, which is easier to shoot in.
It was a pretty tough shoot.
The dry was much easier. There's no doubt about it. The crew, I've never seen a crew work as hard as this in my life on any location in any film. It was brutal, and they were such troopers, and we're so indebted to them. They had a choice to go and work on a big production for months in comfortable confines or come and be tortured. But I think that was part of the appeal, like being outdoors, being on location, it really speaks to some people. It does to Rob and I. Hate being indoors filming, like being outside is just, it just adds so much to your character, to the story, visually for the audience. There's no better art department than Mother Nature, so it was Rob's challenge to try and capture that.
Was it all nature? Did you need any help on that front? Were there rain machines involved, or...?
Oh, it was incredible. It rained for 80% of our shoot. It was the heart of winter. We were filming the days were short. We'd have to get into locations under dark in the morning that were tricky. We filmed in locations that people have never filmed in before. No, it was real world. I think audiences want that too. I think that visceral authenticity. You've got a story about 5 people getting lost in the bush. You want to put them in the bush. You want people to believe they could get lost there. And so taking them into these incredible locations was magic for me. Tricky practically, but I think you feel it. It's visceral in the film.
Oh, it's stunning.
Wow. So the trail starts at the base of the waterfall.
How high is it?
She's a baby, about 15 metres, I reckon.
And as an actor, Eric, how does that impact your performance?
It's everything. It's everything. I think location is so important and so undervalued in terms of potentially how it affects performances. And so it just does so much of the work for you, and you've got something real to respond to. I mean, didn't we get lost on a location, Recce, in pre-production?
Yeah.
Like 300 metres from the road? Like seriously? So you
We
need
did.
to
It's embarrassing, but true.
the audience needs to feel that those sort of things are possible.
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges of a film, is to believe that these 5 characters are truly and in a state of despair because of how lost they are. And the Australian bush is deceptively tricky. When you're inside it and the canopy is high and you can't see the sun, very easy to get kind of distracted by where you are.
Now, I heard rumour there may or may not have been leeches on set. Any hot tips for dealing with leeches in the middle of winter?
I was pretty impressed that people didn't, we're talking about, I don't want to be too explicit about it, but when you've got 2 crew members who got leeches on their eyeball and the nurse is trying to get them off, it was, when you've got one crew member who had 17 leeches in one day, it was tricky. It was tricky, yeah. I think when
Suffering for your art, whole new meaning right there.
I think when you film in the bush where no one's ever been, well, not for many years.
Leeches, by the way, were having their best day. They're like, we got a call sheet. They said they'd be here around this time. They have arrived. Let's go.
Dinner is served. We're all sorted. Yeah.
Good. Glad we're on the same page.
And what do you hope audiences to take away from the film?
I just hope they feel proud that they've got a great choice in original Australian cinema that's epic in scale, that can compete with everything else that's out there, that they can walk out of the cinema and feel really proud of and have a sense of ownership. You know, their success, their ownership of The Dry helped make this happen, and we want them to have a good time.
Yeah, and also it's a big cinematic film. We shot it on large format cameras. I mean, the gauntlet's been thrown down by streaming to filmmakers. Like, we have to make work that has to be seen in the cinema. It has to be bigger and epic. So my hope is people who enjoyed The Dry and Blueback and the way we as a team are actually looking to make this big, muscular, epic cinema will attract people to the cinema.
Out there, nature holds us all to account.